how do you decide which emotion you want to cultivate in which moment? And when would it be a good time to cultivate anger, fear, or disgust? Like, would that be a good thing to try to cultivate in yourself?
Tell me the first part of your question one more time.
How do you decide in which moments or activities which emotion to focus on?
Sure. Okay. So that's a very good question. So the second part first. So you picked out certain emotions as you asked me the question, when would they be appropriate? How would I know when they're appropriate? I cannot answer that question, and that is because it is at a very personal level. So what might be effective for me will likely not be effective for you, because your life experiences that has brought you here is very different than my life experiences. So, for example, let's say anger. I can think of millions of times when I want to invoke anger in order to get something done and feel satisfied about it. These are not external demonstrations. This is all work within. You have to understand that. I don't want you to think that I am proposing that you cultivate anger by going outside, picking up a brick and throwing it at every window and car that you can find. And then this comes and you say, well, I went to a yoga talk. And they said, practice harmony within yourself by cultivating anger. That is not, that is, I'm joking partially, but that is not it. Not everything has to have an external manifestation of that state. It is within you in order to create what it is that you need to feel harmonious with. I'll give you an example. I have had this, and maybe you have had this too, is that under certain conditions, I would have certain encounters with certain people or circumstances, and I would walk away from feeling that it was a deeply unsatisfying experience. And then at a later point in time, I will find how I can make it satisfactory. Maybe I could have said something that would diffuse, or maybe I could have said something that could have helped that person a little bit better. And as a result, I would invoke anger. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this? At that point in time, having a little bit of self-pity would be tremendously balancing. It will not throw off my radar. So if I knew how to invoke self-pity like that, then I would have enough awareness in me to know that I am angry in myself and it is not serving me well. In fact, it is creating more disharmony, more imbalance. And if I could generate self-pity, self-understanding, then it will bring me closer to composure. So I can invoke this state and find harmonious. So I wouldn't have extraneous thoughts, because if you had that nagging thing that was eating away at you, then if you're trying to read a book, you will likely not be as effective as you could be otherwise. Does that make sense? Did I answer both your question?
The only part left was how you know in the moment which one. Oh no, you said it's subjective. So
it is subjective, and if you know this now, maybe you take a photo. Next time you're having an emotion or you're feeling your mind is kind of racing, you look at it and say, no, yes, yes, yes. Okay.
So would you say a way to train or rewire your brain would be through meditation, perhaps? Or just through self-practice?
Yeah, self-practice is important. Meditation is, I know you a little bit, so I know what you mean by meditation. But I do not know what people mean by meditation. I'm yet to see meditation be effective for people. When it is effective, I cannot tell whether it is because they think it is effective or whether it is actually effective. You know what I mean? So I don't want to give all symptoms have only one pill, and that is to go meditation. Like I said, meditation is not just sitting and closing your eyes and trying to visualize a field of daffodils. Meditation is trapping your mind. And you can trap your mind while vacuuming the room. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that it is always a meditation. Because when you're not meditating, you're wasting energy. When you're not meditating, you have random thoughts that is making your 24 hours less than what your 24 hours is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had that question actually, I think you answered it, because at the beginning you were saying the right challenge and then level of satisfaction, you can align your thoughts, but I still, the purpose of yoga is the Chitta Vritti Nirodha, like distilling your thoughts, the fluctuation. So
Sure.
you want to get rid of your thoughts completely, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
So can you do the vacuum cleaning?
Of course you can. So, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, it is not step number 1. I would like to say that that's step number 1 and done, you are done.
Right.
Yes. Chitta Vritti Nirodha, the fluctuation, so what she's saying is one of the many definitions of yoga. And it's called Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That means yoga is the cessation of the not giving birth to thoughts. It's not cessation of thoughts, because by using the words it's vastly misrepresented. Because when you say cessation, that means something was born and then you are cutting it off. But yoga is not to give birth to thoughts. Okay? So in order to get to a place where you can not give birth to thoughts, you got bigger mountains to climb. You have to start reducing 100 thoughts to 99, 99 to 98, so on and so forth to 1. And then you will be able to, hopefully, we will all be successful in not even giving birth to a single thought. It's a little ways away.
Yeah.
But for now, control your thoughts. Reduce from 70,000 thoughts to 69,999.
Question. Then the modern society's values of the productivity, multitasking. So when we reduce our thoughts, our thinking, when you drive, when you eat. Yeah, it's good that you live in the moment, but at the same time you're not multitasking. So when I'm eating, I'm already planning ahead tomorrow's work and Once I'm done with eating, I'm also done with partial work. So wouldn't that be less effective?
I'm glad you brought this up. The reality could not be further from the truth. Multitasking is definitely not getting you anywhere, because where do I even begin? When you're multitasking, you are simultaneously producing not only one stream of thoughts, but 2 streams of thoughts. In fact, the only way you can multitask is by not paying attention to one of those. I challenge you to multitask and pay equal attention to both things. I was a big proponent of multitasking when I was young. And then, as I became more aware of how and what is involved in multitasking, I became completely aware that it is not possible. Human beings are not wired to multitask. Okay? I'll tell you how. Let's say that you are driving and you are thinking about what you're going to say in the meeting that is coming up. You will absolutely find out that you are not driving. Because if you are driving, you would remember every car that passed you, every single driver, every single stop point, every single. And how many times has it happened for you when you're multitasking that you don't even remember what you ate? So what you are doing is you are subscribing to buffets. And like I said, there is no craftsmanship in your ability to eat at a buffet. Even a dog can do that. Let him loose in front of a few bowls, they will slurp, 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 and move along. So the reason we're human beings is to practice absolute cognitive ability, self-perfection. And if you're multitasking, you're not self-perfecting. I absolutely understand, because I used to be, when I was young, in that boat. I could do 3 things. But then I realized that I'm not doing any one of them satisfactorily. So at the end of the day, I go to bed more dissatisfied and more thoughts in my mind as to what I need to accomplish next day. So I would rather not accomplish 10 things, but accomplish 1 or 2 or 3 so satisfactorily so that I can sleep well at night, so that I can do the next 3 things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Multitasking is not getting us anywhere. I can tell you that Einstein was not a multitasker, Newton was not a multitasker. There is no craftsman you will ever find who was multitasking. My grandfather was not, making jewelry here, thinking about, smoking a hookah, and then thinking about how to farm, and then how to be a landlord at the same time. It would not happen. That's why they carve out their entire lifetime to do one thing. So that even if you're multitasking, eventually you will catch up on how much further your colleagues are moving forward. Make sense? It is a childish mind. Yeah. That, again, I don't need to say that this is absolute. I have experienced this, and I can only speak from my experience. And the other thing that I can fall back on is the system of yoga that I've studied. If multitasking is working for you, by all means do so. But you will find that life has lesser satisfaction when you're multitasking. There is an illusion that you're accomplishing a lot, but you are absolutely not. Because eventually, if you are focusing singularly, you will find, I used to have a tutor who could hold a book and flip through the pages like, hand you the book, and you can ask him any questions from the book. He would answer exactly what page it was, verbatim. Because his attention was that precise. All of his senses was absorbing. So what you are capturing with a quarter of your senses, thinking you're visualizing how you're going to stand in front of the boardroom and talk about something, or what your PowerPoint is going to look like, etc., etc. You're not even, because oftentimes, how many times has it happened for us? You read a book, you read a whole chapter, you read 3 chapters, there's a reference of a previous, you're like, what was that? You're not reading. It's an absolute demonstration that you're not paying attention. So, if it's working for you, I wish you luck. Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, so there is a damage to, you're talking about parallel processing, okay? As opposed to say, if you're in a meeting right out of your stall because the first 20 minutes has nothing to do with you, feel free to spend time and not apply to do things on your list.
Sure.
That's,
Parallel processing requires multiple resources. Computing power has not figured out a system by which the same core can multi or parallel task and give you the same efficiency. Unfortunately, we are a single core. At least I am a single core. My RAM is already getting old, and it's time to add DDR. So I do not. Okay. Last question.
I have a quick question.
Okay, what I'll do is this. I'll answer her question. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll do a little bit of meditation. I know every time runs out. After meditation, I'll be here for as long as it takes for you to ask questions. Even any topic is okay. All right, Martin.
This was one more question. What rasa is the color green? Your t-shirt.
Color of green is compassion. Green is the color of heart chakra. So blue is the color of intellect, spirituality. Red is the color of lower chakras. Green is the balance of compassion. Thank you for the easy question. Okay, I hope this was interesting for you. Ask me any questions afterwards. Thank you. Namaste.